You, Season 1. I'm gonna try to keep this short and sweet because, quite honestly, this series was a for me, so let's see how things go. So first off, the story. Well, this is kind of like a murder mystery, actually. I would say it's a bit of a murder mystery with a twist that you kind of know who the murderer is the whole time. But it's a little bit more different. You get to see his story, his life, his thinking, his thoughts, and it's in that perspective, it's quite fascinating. I felt the story was quite predictable though. And actually a couple of stages where I'm going, oh, this is really good, don't do this very predictable thing, and they went and did that very predictable thing. I actually got a little bit angry because the show's got potential. The show's got massive potential in my opinion, but it was just a bit predictable. I really like learning about Joe and his neighbors, and his relationship with his boy Paco is really cool actually, and Paco's got troubles of his own, and Joe sees quite a bit of himself in Paco and his troubles, and you can tell this is a strong point in the story, his relationship with this guy. I wanted to see a little bit more from Joe's past, however I get the feeling that you're going to get more of that in future seasons. It's not like we didn't get anything from Joe's past, we got little tidbits here and there. I would have preferred a little bit more. It might have explained a couple more things, but that'll probably come later on. We also introduced to a character called Peach, who is Beck's best friend, and I liked Peach. I liked her character. For the protagonist, she is a ball ache. She really isn't good for the protagonist, but I think that was good. I wanted to see more, however, from her. I wanted to see more of her and Joe going at it, because you saw a bit and you saw how feisty they can get, and that would have been really cool to see more, a little bit more intensity getting in that, because it kind of, that relationship kind of went from being okay, Peach is a bit of a stepping stone or a barrier, to being full out wow. I'm not going to spoil anything, but like then goes to like Gear 5 in the end, and I kind of wanted to see maybe a Gear 6 and Gear 5 dragged on a little bit more, but it kind of feels like we skipped over Gear 3 and Gear 4. It feels a little bit like there was a little bit missing. I also feel there was maybe a bit of a logic problem or story gap, especially at the end. Something happens and it feels like everything just sort of happens like this, and you are kind of asked to just believe that it happens. I kind of wish there was a little bit more explanation, drag it out a little bit more. That last episode felt like it should have been possibly the second to last episode. I wanted one more episode to kind of close things up, but they kind of closed it all up in the last like 5 minutes, and I wanted a little bit more. Overall, I'm giving the story about a 6 out of 10. So, because of all of these problems that I have with it, that's why. It's got potential, but 6 out of 10 is where it's got to be. So the script was pretty good. I'm not a writer. Writing is one of the things, especially creatively, I've never really been very good at. So, but from my perspective, I didn't see too much of a problem with the writing of the characters and their dialogue. Sometimes felt very CW, and CW is not a bad thing, just to put it out there. It is just like a phrase where it's more YA, young adult kind of themed. This seemed like a very edgy young adult series. I do have a problem with some of the characters. Some of them felt really over the top, some of them felt not fleshed out enough, or very subtle. I just felt like there could have been a little bit more with that. Peach for me was, when you learn about her, was spot on. Joe and Beck are pretty good as well, but characters like the two other friends, Lynn and I think it's Ivanka, are characters where it felt like they were understated a bit, and I wish there was a little bit more. I did enjoy the idea of giving us access to basically Joe's and Beck's mind, to see what they are thinking in between dialogue, quick. So it's very snappy, but it goes in between a conversation where you're hearing what they're saying and what they're thinking. And it's very, very quick. You've got to pay quite a bit of attention sometimes, but I found that aspect really, really, really interesting. As for the two main leads, Joe and Beck, I'm going to focus more on their character arcs. I think that Joe was a very good lead. You felt for him, you understood his logic, I found I liked him but wanted to see him fail. Beck, I didn't like but wanted to see her succeed. Not sure if that makes sense. It might make sense if you watched it, but for me that's what I felt. Overall, I'm giving the script about 3 out of 5 purely because I think they did very well with their leads, but I don't think they did exceptionally well with most of the other characters, barring like Peach and Paco. I really liked Paco. So on to number 3 with presentation. As I've said with the script, it felt very CW. As I said, that's not a bad thing, it's just for me what I think of when I think of young adult. I feel like this show is what the show Dexter on Showtime would have been like if CW had made it and on Showtime. Very much more in depth within the love, which I get. You is essentially about this relationship, this essentially toxic relationship. I felt, however, it wasn't necessarily made up to scratch with something like the first 4 or 5 seasons of Dexter. I wish the show took a little bit more of a risk. I sometimes didn't know what they were comfortable showing on screen, because at one stage they show a quite gruesome death and you go, whoa, okay, cool, like they're going for it, I'm happy. And then a few episodes later there's a tussle between 2 characters which involves a gun, and then the camera pans up and you hear a gunshot, and for me that's a very predictable thing, and I'm going, why? They're giving me 2 different kind of ideas, and I'm not sure if this series had multiple directors, so directors who did come in and do 1 or 2 episodes, or if there was one director for the whole thing. I do not like the fact that they took some risks in some areas and then made it like a PG-13 thing in others. Just, if it's going to be 16 plus, make it 16 plus, make it there, stick to it. Don't not show me someone getting shot and seeing another person die on screen and it's gruesome. So just make up your mind. Overall, I would give it about 2.5 out of 5. I think it's definitely the weakest point is its presentation. I felt a bit cringe sometimes watching it. I would give it 2.5 out of 5, but it's probably worth a little bit more, so I'm giving it 3 out of 5. So overall, my enjoyment of this, as I said at the beginning of the video, was meh. It was fine, it was good. I see huge potential, I really do. I think this could be one of the better young adult kind of slasher, serial killer kind of series, if that's like a genre. I feel like, however, in order for the show to meet its potential, from my perspective, it needs to take a few more risks. I felt the story was a little bit too predictable. Go in weird directions. Really go for it, is in my opinion, because this is not your usual series. So since it's not your usual series, lean into it. Go wacky and weird. And if it fails, at least you went for it and you tried to do something. But by playing it safe, it feels like your by numbers, young adults, 16 plus series. Ultimately, I enjoyed the series purely because of Joe. Joe and his thoughts. I enjoyed seeing what was going on in his mind, and I enjoyed the potential that's there. Overall, I'm going to give my enjoyment at 50%, 15 out of 30. So that leaves me with the final score of 27 out of 50, which is, what, 54%? Is fine. Yeah, if 50% was average, just this was slightly above, not because of the premise. The premise was great. It's execution and how I felt watching it. So there you have it, guys. That's my review for You Season 1. I hope you enjoy it. If you did, leave a like and a comment down below. Tell me what you think. I'm interested in having discussions about it because honestly, I think the show has great potential, but I didn't see it. I didn't see it realized in season 1. Alright, cheers guys.